Recently, bankruptcy has increased um, among older Americans, and the rate of people 65 and older filing for bankruptcy is 3 times what it was in 1991. So everything is going up as far as medical, rent, car expense, and the list goes on and on. A lot of these people, when they were setting up their retirement years ago, they were working on different numbers. Like their rent might have been $750 a month, and that's what they figured they would need. Da da da. And now it's $1,500, and the medical expense has tripled in a lot of it. And the thing about it is, you want to try to get the latest medical out. Like I've been working on some things with rheumatoid arthritis, and they have 3 new medicines out, but the cheapest one we could find would be $600 a month.
Wow.
So that'd be $7,200 a year, and the other 2 are way higher than that. And naturally, your insurance, for some reason, said we can't cover that. So that's a pretty good.
And a lot of people have that.
A lot of people have it. A lot of people on this rheumatoid, they've been taking this old medicine, it's been on the market for 25 years. They want to get these 3 new ones, and they're good, they're great. I mean, if I had it, I'd want that medicine. But if you don't have the money and your insurance don't cover it, how do you get that medicine? So people are running around all kind of circles. Some of them are driving to Canada 10 hours because the prices on all medicines up in Canada are cheaper, and I don't know how that works. And then they drive back with it, but I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. A lot of people that are 65, 70 now, they're going back to work, getting second jobs. Well, their first job's gone, but especially in fast foods and concession stores, they can work and they get $8.50 an hour. Just try to get enough money to cover their living expenses that are way higher than they were when they figured all this out several years ago. And they said, oh, when I hit 65, I'm retiring, I'm getting Social Security, I got a little bit of money in the bank, and I'll be taking nothing but vacations. And all this has changed. You're not getting a vacation, I'll tell you that right now. If you're going to pay your rent, your food, your car expense, and I don't have to go over them. You know what they are. Everybody has them. Or if you have a mortgage on your house, your mortgage payment, and the question is, how much money do you have in the bank right now? And you'd be surprised, but a lot of people that are retired right now, the money they have in the bank's like $3,200. Now, some people, when they retired a few years ago, had $60,000, but that's changed a lot. And there's just so many things that have changed, and especially with your children going to college. Because if you go to a school in Boston or some of these colleges, you're talking about $50,000 a year. Naturally, you're older, so that should have happened several years ago. And if they went to the colleges they wanted to go to and you paid the expense, then that's over. But how about the grandchildren? They have children now. And I know you love your grandchildren, and you'd like to see your grandchildren develop their minds like your children did when you pushed them through school. And you don't know if your children's going to have money for the grandchildren or not. Because I have grandchildren, you play with them, this and that, and you wonder who's going to pay for their college. So, another thing to do when you're younger even, don't wait until you're 70, would be to set up some trusts. Set up some trusts for the grandchildren. And you'd put a little money in, you could put it in every month or whatever, and that money can't be touched. That trust will be for their school to go to college. Because I'll tell you right now, all the schools around Boston in different places are $50,000 a year. And one of them I know is going to a school outside of St. Louis, George Washington. It's $70,000 a year for tuition to go there, room and board. So these numbers are so high, and these are things, though, that you should have thought of years ago, and that's one thing I'm talking about now, is maybe you provide for your children, but how about your children? So you can go set up trusts right now, and from your Social Security check, if you want, you can put a few hundred in each month, and nobody can touch that money except it'll be used for their college. I don't know how many grandchildren you have, but I have a lot of them, but it's going to take some money, and it's going to take a lot of money, I know. And, you know, it just doesn't come out of nowhere. You know, all this has to be planned in advance. And the way it's looking now with the reports I'm reading in the paper, nobody's been planning nothing. Because all these prices for everything has gone up, and nobody looked at that several years ago. Nobody looked at the rents were going to double, triple. And the rents for an apartment in New York City maybe used to be $500, $600, $700, now it's $3,500. So how are you going to pay that? And the other thing, another thing I know, and you just don't know, and these kids want different things. Like one of the things that surprised me in my lifetime was when I went to my father and I was talking to him. He was sort of retired. He was tired of working. In fact, and I just walked in one day and I said, you know, I want to go to Miami for you, get some kind of degree, because they have a tax school at Miami University. I said, I want to go down there for a year. I was telling my dad, and I was never so surprised in my life, because I know he wasn't working, and he played the stock market, and he had me in the stock market, which I lost a bunch of money. But so I said, I want to go to Miami for a year because there's some things I want to learn that they don't teach anywhere. One of them is the stocks, bonds, how to set up a stock company on the exchange, and taxes, a lot about taxes. And I was shocked, more than I ever been shocked in my life. I said, what do you think, you know, but it's going to cost money, apartment in Miami. I just got married and all that, but I'd like to go down there for a year. He said, as far as I'm concerned, this is what he said. He said, you're going. he said, you're going, and he said he was paying.
Wow.
I was never so surprised in my life. But there are some things in Miami that you couldn't get anywhere else. I mean, they had a guy there, we had a book about 3 inches thick. His name was on it. So he wrote it on how to set up a company on the exchange, stocks, bonds, and then there are some tax experts and things like that, which I couldn't have got anywhere at the time except University of Miami. But the thing that surprised me more in my life, and he was older, my dad was probably pushing 70, he said, you're leaving, you're going, I'm paying.
Wow.
So getting to these grandchildren, though, that could be a problem, because right now, you know, you never know how many of them are coming. And there are some right now that I can see. I think there'll be enough money for them to go to college, but I'm not certain. But those things should have been lined up before. You should have set up a trust for these grandchildren, and you could put money in every so often. And then now, when they do get ready to go to school, they're not ready yet, but when they get ready to start in college in the next few years, some of them, well, one's in college, and there's two that's going to college in a couple years, and there's some a little younger, you know. But you know, you got 4 or 5, 6 grandchildren, and you don't know how will their parents make enough money to put them through college. You don't know. So what you got to do now is set up these trusts and get them set up right away. And those trusts are going to be, for one thing, for education for your grandchildren. Thank you.